All right, thanks, guys. Another big win yesterday in our daily best play on Patreon.com. It's going to put us at 5-0 in our last 5 daily best plays on that website. Guys, the daily best play costs just $1.99 per month. You're not going to miss that money. It's going to be the best investment that you've done in a long time. A lot of winners, $1.99 per month. You can barely get a hash brown at McDonald's for that. So once again, 5-0 in our last 5 daily best plays on that website. Once again, patreon.com/BrockPage. Link for that site is in the description section below. All right, guys, let's go ahead and dive into our NBA slate. And we're going to start with the Nets taking on the Sixers, 7 o'clock Eastern tip-off in South Philly at the Wells Fargo Center. The Sixers are the 8-point favorite in this matchup here, total at 219.5. We saw a 1-point move toward Philadelphia and movement downward on the total. The Sixers open as the 7-point favorite, up to -8. Total open 220, down to 219.5. 53% of the consensus are leaning toward Brooklyn. 72% shaded toward the over. And right now the Nets are plus 280 on the money line. Now, if you like the Nets in this matchup here, they've really struggled away from home so far in the season. As a matter of fact, they're just 7-12 straight up when traveling. They're also just 7-12 against the spread in those 19 road games. They're just 2-8 straight up in their last 10. They lost to the likes of Orlando, Minnesota, and the Knicks during that stretch of losses. Now, Brooklyn ranks in the bottom 10 in field goal percentage, bottom 3 in shooting the 3 ball as well. They're just 18-21 overall for the year. And we're looking at Garrett Temple, who's listed as questionable for tonight's action. Now, a couple more stats with regard to Brooklyn. They rank in the bottom 10 in defensive rebounding, and they also rank dead last in the NBA in road offensive three-point percentage. Now, the Sixers on the other side, despite struggling as of late, they're still virtually unbeatable at home. 18-2 straight up on their home court at the Wells Fargo Center. They rank in the top 10 in offensive rebounding. They have victories over the likes of Boston, OKC, and Milwaukee within their last 10. So although they've put together a string of losses, they're still beating quality teams recently. They also rank in the top 10 in offensive field goal percentage, top 3 in defensive rebounding. Now, Joel Embiid's still out with that that broken finger, but Tobias Harris, he's averaging 19 points a game, 7 rebounds for the Sixers. And Josh Richardson, 16 points a game, 4 assists as well. Now, Ben Simmons, he don't like to shoot, but he's averaging 8 rebounds a game. He's also averaging 8 assists as well. Now, the Sixers rank in the top 10 in points allowed, top 10 in home defensive rebounding as well. So the case can certainly be made for Sixers backers. Now, 6 out of the Sixers' last 8 games did stay under the total. Meanwhile, Brooklyn's 60% to the under in their last 5 themselves. I'm going to lean toward the home chalk in this one. Give me the Sixers -8 and the under 219.5 in that game. Next matchup, Pistons taking on the Celtics, 7 o'clock Boston. The Celtics open 10.5, down to -10. Total open 217, up to 218. 72% are leaning Boston, 61% shaded toward the over. Right now, Detroit is plus 420 on the money line. Now, if you like Detroit, they have struggled as of late, losing 7 out of their last 9. They dropped, games to New Orleans, Chicago, and Cleveland during that stretch. Griffin, Jackson, Kennard still out indefinitely. Wood is listed as questionable for tonight's action. Detroit ranks at the bottom 10 in scoring, dead last in offensive rebounding. They're averaging just 108 points per contest. Meanwhile, defensively, their opponents are shooting 47.4% from the field. Now, Detroit ranks in the bottom 3 in defensive three-point percentage as well, and they're in the bottom 10 in road scoring. Now, I got a couple more disparaging things to say about Detroit. They're just 14-27 overall for the year, 6-14 on the road. They rank in the bottom 10 in road offensive rebounding, bottom 10 in road defensive field goal percentage. Now, Boston on the other side, winners of their last 2 straight. They're also 5-3 in their last 8. They're very good at home, very good at the Garden, 16-3 in their 19 home games this year. They also went 12-7 against the spread in those 19 home games. They rank in the top 3 in points allowed, top 10 in defensive rebounding. Kemba Walker's averaging 22 points a game, 5 assists. Jason Tatum, 21 points a game, 7 rebounds. And Jaylen Brown, he's averaging 7 rebounds himself and 20 points per contest. Now, Boston ranks in the top 10 in home scoring, top 5 in home defensive rebounding. They're giving up just 105 points per contest at the Garden this year. And, of course, 3 out of their last 6 games did get over the total. Meanwhile, Detroit, 80% of the over in their last 10. I'm going to lean toward another home favorite. Give me Boston minus 10 and the over 218 in that game. Excuse me. Next matchup, Spurs taking on the Heat, 7:30 Miami. The Heat opened 5, up to minus 5.5. Total opened 222, down to 221 and a hook. 67% are leaning Miami, 69% on the over. Right now the Spurs are plus $1.85 on the money line. Now San Antonio really struggling on the road this year. 18 road games, just 6 victories. That's right, 6-12 straight up on the road. They rank in the bottom 5 in points allowed. They're giving up 115 points per contest on average. San Antonio also ranks in the bottom 10 in defensive field goal percentage on the road. Now, Miami on the other side, virtually unbeatable on their home court. 17-1 at home, 13-5 against the spread in those games. They rank in the top 5 in offensive field goal percentage, top 3 in shooting the 3-ball. Jimmy Butler's averaging 21 points a game, 7 rebounds, 7 assists, and 2 steals. Bam Adebayo, 16 points a game, 10 rebounds, 5 assists for him. And Kendrick Nunn, 15 points a game, 4 assists for the Miami Heat. Miami ranks in the top 3 in defensive rebounding, top 10 in defensive field goal percentage. They're averaging 116 points per contest on their home court. Meanwhile, they're giving up just 104 points per contest in the friendly confines. Now, Miami is 4-0 to the over in their last 4, 12-6 to the over at home. Meanwhile, the Spurs 70% to the over in their last 10. I'm going to lean Miami minus 5.5 and the over 221.5 in that game. Before we go ahead and move on, just want to take a quick timeout and welcome you to the show. Got some lines of personal leans out for Wednesday's NBA action. Happy Wednesday to you. The weekend is almost here. We're halfway there. Now, before we go ahead and dive into some more free lines and personal leans right here on YouTube, we are red hot on my Patreon website. Guys, patreon.com/BrockPage. We do daily premium sports picks on that site, beginning at just $1.99 per month. Now, I have this thing called the Daily Best Play on that site. That membership costs just $1.99 per month, and we are currently 5-0 in our last 5 daily best plays on that site. Guys, we have a bunch of different memberships, tiers, and packages that you can subscribe to, but right now the daily best play is absolutely just dynamite right now. Once again, 5-0 in our last 5 daily best plays. Now you're probably wondering, well, why would I buy a package from you when you're giving me all the picks for free here on YouTube? That's certainly a great thought, a great question, and that's basically what I do here on YouTube. I give away free lines and personal leans each and every day on a daily basis. The problem with that is if you were to bet every single game, side and total with your hard-earned money, you're guaranteed to lose in the long run. It's just too many games. The math is against you. You just can't win. The books are too smart. They're way too sharp. So what we do on Patreon, similar to this daily best play, is we really narrow down and focus in on 3 to 4 premium selections per day. They're games that I personally have action on. And I'll tell you this much, my current Patreon record is a whole lot better than it is here on YouTube, just handicapping every single game on the board, throwing darts, picking games with my eyes closed. So you definitely want to think about it. Get linked up with that site. It's just $1.99 a month. Guys, it's as if you never even had it. It's basically free. I think it's actually egregious how cheap it is. But anyway, link for that site is in the description section below. Once again, that is patreon.com/BrockPage. All right, let's go ahead and dive into some more free lines and personal leans right here on YouTube. All starts Eastern Standard Time. And on deck, we've got the Wizards taking on the Bulls, 8 o'clock Chicago. The Bulls open 5, down to -4.5. Total open 228, up to 229. 53% leaning Bulls, 67% on the over. Right now the Wizards are plus $1.60 on the money line. Washington is 60% against the spread in their last 5. They're also 11-9 against the spread when traveling this year. They rank in the top 5 in the NBA in scoring. I know they've been bad. Their record stinks. But it's been no shortage of scoring for them. Once again, Washington, they're in the top 5 in scoring on average per game. They're also in the top 10 in shooting the 3-ball. Bradley Beal's averaging 28 points a game, 7 assists. Davis Bertans, 15 points a game, 5 rebounds. And Thomas Bryant, 8 rebounds a game, 14 points for him. Washington ranks in the top 10 in road scoring as well. No surprises there. They have successful point spread covers over the likes of Boston and Denver as of late. Meanwhile, Chicago, on the other side, losers of 7 out of their last 8. They're also just 2-8 straight up in their last 10. They lost to New Orleans and Orlando during that stretch. Now, Chicago's really, really struggling in the Windy City. 21 home games, just 7 victories. That's going to put them at 7-14 at home this year, 9-12 against the spread in those home games. Chicago ranks in the bottom 10 in scoring, bottom 10 in offensive rebounding. They're averaging just 105 points per contest, and they're shooting just 43% from the field. Now, a couple more things to say about Chicago. They're ranking in the bottom 10 in defensive rebounding as well, so they're struggling on both ends of the court. They're also ranking in the bottom 3 in home scoring, averaging just 104 points per contest on their home court. And, of course, Satoransky and Markkanen are listed as questionable for tonight's action. A lot of bad news for Chicago backers. They are 4-2 to the over in their last 6. Washington 13-7 to the over when traveling. I'm going to lean toward the road dog. Give me Washington plus 4.5 and the over 229 in that game. Next matchup, Pacers, T-Wolves, 8 o'clock Minnesota. Indiana's minus 2.5, totals at 218 and a hook. Indiana winners of 3 out of their last 4. They're also ranking in the top 10 in offensive field goal percentage, shooting the ball very well. They're ranking in the top 10 in points allowed as well. They're giving up just 106 points per contest. Meanwhile, their opponents are shooting just 44% from the field. TJ Warren, he's averaging 18 points a game, 4 rebounds. Malcolm Brogdon, 18 points a game, 8 assists. And Domantas Sabonis, he's bringing down 13 rebounds a game. Now keep an eye on Sabonis as he is listed as questionable for tonight's action. But regardless, the Pacers have successfully covered the point spread in 3 out of their last 4 games. They rank in the top 3 in shooting the 3-ball on the road. They're also in the top 10 in points allowed on the road, giving up just 107 points per contest in that category. Now the T-Wolves, losers of their last 2 straight. They're also just 1-3 against the spread in their last 4. They failed to cover against the likes of OKC and Memphis during that stretch. They also rank in the bottom 3 in offensive field goal percentage, bottom 3 in shooting the 3-ball. Defensively, they're giving up 115 points per contest. They're also really, really bad at home this year, just 6-12 straight up on their home court. They're ranking dead last in defensive rebounding and dead last in offensive field goal percentage at home. Now, 4 out of Minnesota's last 5 did get over the number. Meanwhile, Indiana, 80% to the over in their last 10. I'm going to lean toward the road favorite in this one. Give me the Pacers minus 2.5 and the over 218.5 in that contest. Next matchup, Raptors taking on the OKC Thunder. 8 o'clock OKC. Thunder's minus 1.5 at home, total at 213 and a hook. We saw a half-point move toward OKC and movement downward on the total. Thunder open minus 1, up to 1.5, total open 215, down to 213 and a hook. 51% are leaning OKC, 71% shaded toward the over. Right now, Toronto's plus 105 on the money line. Now, Gasol's questionable. Freddie VanVleet is still out for the Raptors. Toronto's failed to cover the point spread in 5 out of their last 7. They failed to cover against the likes of San Antonio, Charlotte, and Portland during that stretch. They rank in the bottom 10 in field goal percentage, bottom 5 in defensive rebounding. Now, offensively, kind of struggling to put points on the board away from home. They're averaging just 106 points per contest on the road. They're also shooting just 43% from the field on the road as well. Toronto ranks in the bottom 10 in road scoring, bottom 10 in road defensive rebounding. Now OKC on the other side, winners of 8 out of their last 10. Victories against Houston, Dallas, and this very Toronto squad during that stretch. OKC also ranks in the top 10 in points allowed. So defensively, doing a very good job this year. Now keep in mind, Noel and Abdel Nader, they are out for tonight's action for OKC. But regardless of that, we still have Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, who's having a great season. He's averaging 20 points a game, 6 rebounds. Of course, Danilo Gallinari, 19 points a game, 6 rebounds for him. Of course, you can't forget about Big Steven Adams, who's bringing down double-digit rebounds a game as well. This OKC squad ranks in the top 3 in offensive field goal percentage at home, and they are 13-7 straight up on their home court. Now, OKC is 60% to the under in their last 10. Toronto 6-2 to the under in their last 8 themselves. I'm going to lean OKC minus 1.5 and the under 213.5 in that contest. Next game, Hornets taking on the Nuggets. 9 o'clock Mile High City. Denver opened as the 12-point favorite, down to minus 11. Total opened 212.5, down to 210. 78% are leaning Nuggets, 80% shaded toward the over. Charlotte is 5-2 against the spread in their last 7. Successful point spread covers over the likes of Toronto and Dallas. They also rank in the top 10 in defending the 3 ball on the road. Devontae Graham's averaging 19 points a game for the Hornets, 8 assists. Terry Rozier, 18 points a game, 4 rebounds as well. And Cody Zeller, 7 rebounds a game for this Charlotte team. Now, Harris and Murray are questionable for the Nuggets. Millsap is out. They also rank in the bottom 10 in three-point shooting, bottom 10 in home scoring. So Denver certainly not all that great covering the point spread on their home turf. Now, they are 3-0 to the under in their last 3. Meanwhile, 2 out of Charlotte's last 3 stayed under the total as well. I'm going to lean toward the road dog in this one. Give me Charlotte plus 11 and the under 210 in that contest. Next matchup, Blazers taking on the Rockets, 9:30 Houston. The Rockets open 7.5 up to minus 8. Total open 236 down to 235 and a hook. 58% are leaning Houston, 62% shaded toward the over. Right now, Portland is plus 315 on the money line. Now we have Hood, Nurkic, and Collins still out indefinitely for Portland. This Blazers team struggling away from home, just 8-14 on the road. That's 22 road games, just 8 victories. They also went just 9-13 against the spread in those 22 road games. They're just 3-7 straight up in their last 10. 20% against the spread in those 10 games. Portland ranks in the bottom 10 in points allowed, bottom 3 in defensive rebounding. Now, Houston on the other side, they rank in the top 3 in scoring, top 5 in offensive rebounding. James Harden, he's averaging 38 points a game, 6 rebounds, 8 assists, and 2 steals. Of course, Russell Westbrook, 25 points a game, 8 rebounds for him. Houston's 14-4 in the Toyota Center. They're also averaging 121 points per contest on their home court. Houston's 70% to the under in their last 10, ironically. Meanwhile, 5 out of Portland's last 7 stayed under the number as well. I'm going to lean toward Houston minus 8 and the under 235.5 in that contest. Next game, Dallas taking on the Kings, 10 o'clock Sacramento. The Mavs open 2.5 up to minus 3.5. Total open 222 up to 223 and a hook. 74% are leaning Dallas, 85% shaded toward the over. Kristaps Porzingis is listed as questionable for the Mavs, but regardless, Dallas is very good on the road this year. 13-5 straight up and against the spread when traveling this year. The Mavs rank in the top 3 in scoring, top 5 in offensive rebounding. Luka Doncic, he's averaging 29 points a game, 10 rebounds, and 9 assists. Tim Hardaway, 14 points a game, 3 rebounds. This Dallas team ranks in the top 5 in defending the 3-ball. They're also in the top 3 in road scoring. On the other side, Sacramento, Bogdan Bogdanovic, he's listed as doubtful for tonight's action. Sacramento's just 3-7 in their last 10, with losses to Orlando, Phoenix, and Minnesota during that stretch. Sacramento ranks in the bottom 10 in scoring, bottom 3 in offensive rebounding. 20 home games, just 8 victories in those 20. They also went just 7-13 against the spread in those 20 home games as well. Sacramento ranks in the bottom 10 in defensive field goal percentage, bottom 3 in home scoring. Now, 6 out of the Kings' last 9 games did get over the number. Meanwhile, Dallas 11-7 to the over when traveling. I'm going to lean Dallas minus 3.5 and the over 223.5 in that game. All right, next and final matchup for the show. It is going to be Magic taking on the Lakers, and that's going to be a 10:30 Eastern tip-off in that game. I do like the Lakers covering the point spread at home and the under in that game. All right, guys, that's going to do it for me. Once again, don't forget to check me out on Patreon. 5-0 in our last 5 daily best plays. It's only going to cost you $1.99 a month. All right, guys, that's going to do it for me. I got to thank you for joining me right here on YouTube. I really hope you enjoyed all this great free content, all this great free information. Happy Wednesday to you. Best of luck to you. And I look forward to seeing you on patreon.com/BrockPage.